Thank you for coming. My name is Timothy Newbrander. I'm the Transcript and Degree Audit Coordinator in the Registrar's Office, and I've been here since the end of March. And primarily this summer, I've been working on implementing my MU plan, and we've gone live now for faculty and students earlier this month. And so we do have some students already who have been going in, planning. You may have already gotten a few notifications from students saying, advisee has requested a review. So I'm going to go ahead and log into a test environment and kind of show you what it looks like on the advisor side, and then go over so you can see also what it looks like on the student side. So if you do have questions from students about how do I add classes, you'll be able to let them know a little bit. We also have some guides online if you haven't had a chance to look. Mainly for the students, there is an advisor one on the portal if you log into the portal as a faculty. So please take advantage of logging on there. That'll give you kind of a step-by-step of how to use my MU plan when you do get a student who has requested a review. It is for undergrad students, the review. We do encourage graduate students to submit their plans to review, but it's not required for students to register, but it is for undergrad students. So I don't know what your breakdown is, advisors here. So go ahead and get started. So currently you'll log into Marynet. And if you have looked at the guides, you will notice previously we did say you had to go through Marynet for students. That has changed where you can log in to Marynet for faculty. We'll be updating the guides shortly. So click on Marynet for faculty. And then click under My MU Plan, click the Advising Overview.
I'm missing something.
Okay.
I have the schedule for that, and I'm used to seeing the other stuff.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute, I have it all.
Yeah. So again, what will prompt you to log into My MU Plan is if you get an email that says an advisee has requested a review of your plan. You'll then log into Marynet, and then once you click on Advising Overview, you'll see a list of advisees, and if a student has requested a review, their name will go to the top of the list, and you'll see a yellow hourglass by the student's name indicating that they've requested a review of their plan.
May I ask a quick
Yes.
question? So I went in to my Marynet and the whole thing to look and click the MU plan, and I had nothing. So does that mean no one has then requested time with me?
If you don't,
Because I don't even have a list of my advisees like you were showing.
okay. If you'd like, I'll get your information. I'll double check in the system, make sure. And if you have a list that you have worked with previously, if you can send that to me, either registrar@marymount.edu or my email, we'll certainly look in the system to see what might be the issue with them not showing up. Because we do want you to have access to that, and especially if you're getting the emails, that can get kind of annoying if you don't see the students.
I'm not seeing the test environment here.
Well, if you're logging in, it'll actually be the live environment. I'm just using a test environment so I can make changes, and that way it won't affect the actual environment. So when you've received that email, you'll click on the student's name, and it'll open up to their course plan, which will open up to their current schedule. Again, because this is a test environment, it currently still has the 2017 fall courses shown as planned. Those should all show as registered for your current students. You would just need to click the next arrow over to get to spring, and that'll show you then the classes that they've added for this term. But before we go into the course plan, I'll switch over to the timeline first. So this is where students will be adding their courses through My Progress. I'll get to that in just a moment. We encourage students to plan all of their courses out. That way they can make sure they meet all prerequisites. They also make sure they've got all courses planned, and they can also see, okay, am I going to have a decent class load or not have too many courses? You may see some students who only plan the next semester. We would encourage you maybe reach out to them, especially now in the beginning, and say, okay, let's try to plan out further. That's how the tool is best used. But we do understand that some students just may feel overwhelmed with it or just refuse to do it. But since they do need to submit some courses for spring 18 in order to register for that term, they will need to use it at least some way. And so I'll come back to this in just a moment. As you can see, this is kind of an example of all the courses planned out. If you click on Progress, and this is where students will add courses to their plan. This is similar to their program evaluation that you use now, just in a new look. We do want to stress, nothing is changing as far as the way you previously did advising. We just want My MU Plan to be an even better way for you to be able to serve the students and advise them, and hopefully be a better way to see what courses they need, and you'll be able to serve them better that way. So you'll open up to their current major or program, and you'll see a summary of their cumulative and institutional GPAs, their degree and major, their school, and the catalog. So if they do have questions about what courses are required under their program evaluation, you can go look at that catalog year and look and see, okay, in 2016 these courses were required. If we do have curriculum changes, we'll still use the sub waiver form or course substitution form if we're not offering a course. But that way you can look and see, okay, this is what was required at that time, and see if any changes are needed to match the current curriculum if we're not offering courses. You'll also see 3 progress bars. The first one is tracking their overall progress towards degree completion. So as courses are completed, that green bar will gradually continue until the end. The second one you'll see is the total credits bar, which for an undergrad student, they need at least 120 hours to receive a Marymount degree. So they can track there to see how close am I to my degree. And then they also need to go through each requirement, make sure each requirement is planned. But let's say they plan all their requirements and that's still not completely planned to 120, they would need to add like an academic elective to get to the 120. So you'll currently see a dark green indicating courses are completed. When they register for a course, this will show in light green, so you'll see how many hours are currently planned and registered, and then the yellow ones are all future terms that are registered or planned out. So again, we encourage students to plan all their courses so they can make sure at the end of when I want to graduate, will I have 120 hours, and they can track their progress towards that. And again, as they complete courses, that dark green one will gradually get towards the end. And then the third bar is the need for an undergrad program at least 36 hours from Marymount. So your freshmen and your sophomore students, that won't usually be an issue. You will want to check that for junior and seniors, especially if they transfer here, to make sure they have hours. And again, it works the same way. Total hours taken, any courses that they've then registered for or are currently taking, and then they can make sure, especially if they're transfer, if they need additional elective hours to get to that 36. That way, again, there's no surprises at the end. If you can't graduate, you still need additional courses at Marymount. It now gives them a visual to track that. So and then as we scroll down, you'll see all the requirements, similar to the old program evaluations, just much more colorful, so easier to read to see, okay, what courses do I still need to take and plan. So all these courses are currently planned out, but let's say they needed to take a DSC 101 course. They would come over here and click on the search, and that'll pull up all the courses that would meet that requirement, so they can then go and add that course to their plan, and this will then add it to their timeline. So they click on that. They can select then the term that they want to take that course in, and it'll let them know, this course is typically only offered in the fall. It would allow them to add it to the spring, but probably won't be offered there. We can't doesn't guarantee that it will be offered. Okay, and then it'll let them know up here, okay, it's been added now to their timeline, and they can go back to progress. You also see it did update the total credits, so anytime they add those classes, it's in live time, automatically updates, so they can continue to track where they are. So the university requirements, as you know, a lot of them are in the major already, so we encourage students to first add courses in their major. That way they can make sure if a writing intensive course is in their major, they add there and they're not adding 3 additional courses they may not need later. But they will also pop in both in the writing intensive and in the major if they meet that specific requirement. But let's say they had only 2 writing intensives in their major, and they needed a 3rd one, and it said, 2 courses planned, 1 still needed. On where they can see that as, both in the here as well as right here to let them know 0 of 3 classes are needed. So they can click on search. And again, that will then pull up all the courses in the catalog currently that will meet that requirement. They can scroll through that and select a course that they want to take. In the future, we are hoping to have it where they can plan specifically just a writing intensive course if they don't know what they want to take right now, to give them a little bit more flexibility. Particularly, I know sometimes the students don't know, well, I want a lit one or a history one. I don't know what's going to be offered or what I can get. We're going to hopefully be adding that in the future where they can plan both, so that way as an advisor you can say, oh, take one of these liberal arts core courses and just make sure then the next semester you take the opposite of what you take this semester. So you may get some questions about that. What do I do if I'm not sure if I can get a course or it may close by the time I get to register? Especially for those, I would encourage them, talk ahead, say, okay, let's plan both of them and you'll just take one. And then later on, once you register for a course, you can drop the other planned course or move it to another term. And then they can also search for later when they add schedule. They can then look and see who's teaching the classes. They can look at specific courses, when they're offered, what days of the week, especially if they have like work schedules. So they have, again, additional options to sort to find the courses that meet their specific needs. So as an advisor, you're going to want to just go through their My Progress, just make sure everything's been planned. If they've planned it out, again, encourage them, plan as much out as possible. That way they'll have the best visual of, does this schedule that I've planned, is that going to actually work to graduate on time? And there won't be issues down the road with their senior year where they have a course that has a prerequisite that they haven't met. Again, a lot of these courses, like the literature, when they click on search, it'll show all the courses that fulfill that requirement. And then if they go to the business core, they can click on the individual course. We encourage them to go on the search, because what that'll do is it'll pull all the courses up for that requirement, and they can go ahead and plan all 4 of them without having to keep going back and forth for each course individually. So then after you've confirmed that they've taken all the courses, you can go back to the timeline and make sure that all the courses meet prerequisites. If it has a yellow warning on it, that indicates a prerequisite has not been met. In this case, it is a recommended prerequisite. So you can require them if you feel it would be in their best interest to complete English 101 first. You can encourage that, but it isn't required. It will not block them from registering for Math 132. But if you do see other courses with a lot of them in there, before you review their plan and click complete, reach out to the student and say, let's work on this, make sure we get all these courses moved around. And if you need to move a course, what you can do is you click on the course in the timeline. So for example, Finance 301, I want to see, let's see what it looks like if I were to take this later on. It looks like I have a pretty busy schedule in spring 19. Can move it to spring 2020. Click update the course. And as you can see, it then indicates on later courses, oh, this was a prerequisite for that later course. I'm not able to take it 2020. I need to take it earlier. So they can go in again and click on that course and move it to another time. And as they do that, it'll again assume, okay, they're going to be taking that course in the proper sequence. Obviously, again, if they fail the courses, you'll have to go in the next semester, make sure those prereqs are met, but the system will assume the students are going to pass the class, or if they plan it in the proper sequence, that they'll take the class at the right time. So if you have a student who wants to take a summer class, as you'll see, there's no summer term in between spring 19 and fall 19. If they want to take a summer class, they can hit add term, and they can just add the next term. So if they think they'll be longer, then it's approximately, I think, 4 terms that usually show. Some students, it may not show all of them, but if they hit add term, they can add future terms, and then they'll give a capability to plan for that. And then they can either move a class to that term or go into the course catalog and select a term that they want to take for that course. So one other function you have, if you go back to the course plan, is and go to the term you're reviewing, you do have the option to, as a visual, approve courses. It's not required. If you hit review complete and don't make any further changes, it will allow them to register, and that will essentially be approving the plan. But if you want to visually, say, deny a course, you can click the deny button, and then if you just follow up with a note in the notes tab, letting them know, perhaps this course isn't required for their major, or not, they don't need any additional electives. You can say, this is the reason I denied it. When you review the plan, it'll ask you to archive it, and that'll save then that you denied it. So if the student does go in and decides to take it, the next semester you can go back and tell them, okay, I denied this course. How come did you went in and registered for it after all? So it doesn't block it, but it gives them a visual to say, I don't think you should take all these courses, and just follow up with the notes so they can see why you denied that course. Likewise, let's say they need to take English 101 in the fall. You can protect that course. And what that'll allow them to do is that when they go to their timeline, after you've clicked review complete, they won't be able to move it to another semester. So again, I would follow up with a note, say I've protected this course, you really need to take 101 now because future courses require this as a prerequisite. If you don't get it now, it may affect you later. Again, it's on the student to actually register for that course, but if they don't register for it and come back in the spring and are trying to register for a course that had that as a prerequisite, you can go back to the archive plan and say, I told you back in the fall that you needed to take that course, you didn't take it. Okay, we'll now work with you to try to get a new schedule. However, it may affect your graduation. So it puts it back on the student to actually register for the classes correctly, and they can't come back to you and say, well, I didn't know I had to take it. Well, yes, you did. This is the plan I approved in the beginning. Here's what it looks like in the notes. So you could say I denied IT 110. These notes are permanent, so please only use them for registration and advising purposes. Retention-related notes will still be going through Starfish. But again, this is a way to reach the students, let them know this is the reason I've denied a course or protected a course, or if you have other advising notes that you want to tell the student, you can use that through the notes function, and then they can see that on their side as well. The plan archive saves the copy of that plan that you've approved. So each semester they will be required to go in and do a course review and send that to you. That's a chance for you just to look through. Are they still on track with what we discussed the first time, or have they made changes? Are those changes okay? but then you can go back to the plan archive and see, if you denied any courses or approved them, or you can see, when did they add other courses to their timeline. And that's just a backup then for you to say, okay, this is the plan we discussed in the beginning. You may not be able to graduate now because you made all these changes. You also have ability, if they had any types of test scores, to see those, as well as an unofficial transcript and grades. And again, all the students has access to all of that too, so they can print out an unofficial transcript if they wanted to. And it says on it, unofficial, and they will still need to request an official transcript through the registrar's office, but they do have that available for them. So once you've reviewed everything, if everything looks good, you can click Review Complete, and this will enable them to register. So they have to do it at least once in order to be able to register. It replaces the old advising hold, so we'll no longer have that. But each semester, they'll have to review it at least once. So for the spring, it's anywhere between October and January. If they submit a plan to review and you've reviewed it and say it's complete, that'll enable them to register for courses and do any add drops that they want to do. And then for next fall, anytime between, I think it's March and the beginning of the next semester, the fall semester, anytime they've reviewed it in that time, will enable them to register for the fall without you having to go in and take the advising hold off. They don't need it for summer. So if you do have a student who would like to take a summer course, they can certainly request it for review. It's not required. You may want to reach out to them and offer suggestions for courses that might work best for the summer, particularly like an internship that may be offered best in the summer. But again, it's not a required term, at least in the undergrad program.
So there's no more, I just want to double check because I just talked to a few students who have different advisors and they said, oh, we don't have any holds anymore. My advisor said, just go in and pick whatever you want. And I went, eh?
Yeah, so there's not a physical hold from blocking them from registration that you have to go in and remove. They do have to submit this plan to their advisor, and essentially once they've done that and you've clicked Review Complete, that takes the hold off
Just for that.
for the next semester.
Yeah, so there's some professors, some advisors are not quite giving out the right information, and the students aren't quite hearing.
Okay.
All they hear is no hold.
Okay. I will see if we can do anything to kind of maybe reach out to everybody again just to clarify that. But yeah, there's not physically where you have to add and drop it, but they will see on their side, it'll have a pop-up that says a plan must be reviewed by your advisor when they first log in before you can register. So if you do have a students on your advisory list where you're like, okay, I haven't seen a review of this, it's kind of starting to get closer to registration, I would just encourage you, reach out to them and say, make sure you submit this to me so I can just review it.
And also let the professors know that they're not, it's not that there is no hold, it's that you have to physically review and then click.
Yeah.
Because I know the one is saying, oh, no, I don't have to see any of that. You just go
Okay.
in and review. I don't need to meet with you, you just go sign
Okay.
up.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely encourage students to still meet with the professors. Obviously, those students who already come to you with everything mapped out already, obviously, they don't necessarily need to come back each semester unless you require it. It does have that ability if they could go in, plan everything out, you approve that first plan, and they can go and just keep plugging away. Each semester they do have to send it to you, but they may never make any changes to it. However, we do encourage those other students who you currently meet with and may have some more issues with planning it out or make a lot of changes. We still encourage them to go to their advisor. So again, You may want to, and we can certainly follow up with that as well and say, this does not replace the old system. It's just a new tool to make your job easier, hopefully.
That's how you approach it.
So we'll definitely can look at, make sure that's clarified too, so that you can schedule your advising appointments, particularly for those students that may need additional time. And you're welcome to also go in with them if you want to schedule longer periods and say, okay, let's go in together. I know a lot of faculty have done paper evaluations. You can take those paper evaluations and essentially just put it in the system the same way. It just now gives them a visual for, oh, I don't want to take history this semester. I want to take something else. They can move the courses around, see how that might affect them down the road without having to use a pencil and eraser each time. So,
I'm wondering in terms of a way to expedite this process, because these things can go on and on and on and really tie you up. Is there any way that review can flag for the student before we even look at it, that this is missing and that's not correct or whatever, instead of us having to step by step go through this each time?
on the student plan, we have told them, look for those warning. Don't submit it until all those warnings are complete. Again, it depends on the type of student. Some will naturally do that because they've already know for sure what prerequisites are out there.
So will we see the warnings that they got?
Correct, yes, sir. If you go to the timeline, anytime there's a warning that a course hasn't been met, it'll show there until they've planned that. So if you do see a whole bunch of courses where it have the warning, you can reach out to the student and say, I see there's a lot of warnings. Please go in and resubmit it to me, fix these.
I like that. The reason I'm asking this is that I have a system that I've been using for years that has worked really well. But when they're getting ready to register under the current system, I have a checkoff list that they have to go through. This is a prerequisite for this course. I meet the prerequisites. It's on main campus or Ballston, and I can make it. And I go through that step by step by step by step. And they have to submit that to me before they meet with me. And that saves a lot of headache. I can see doing the same thing with this, especially with the warnings. Having them sign off that, taking care of all the warnings, and then we do that, and that expedites the process. Because the goal, I've been here many years. The primary goal of academic advising from an instructional perspective is us to not do the schedule building so much as the other areas of interest. What they want to do in their career, where they want to go to graduate school, where they want to study there, where they have to take and all that sort of thing. But I still end up about 80% of my time doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly, maybe work with the students, say, okay, this is how we've done it before, show them how it's, essentially the same here. And again, I think if you help the students plan it all out, you can say, you really won't need very many changes, unless, again, you want to take a History 1 and it's not offered anymore, or, it got full before you could register for it. Let's switch it to a Lit 1 course. This will give that, and then all they have to do the next semester to register is resubmit it. If it looks the same, if you don't see any major issues, you can just do the review complete. So hopefully in the long run it will, shorten the time. You may just have a few students who...
I like that because, and I'm still going to stick with this form that I'm going to send them beforehand, but that does save a lot. In short term, it's going to take some time to get it, but once you get that for 4 years, and the other thing I'm going to add on there for them to check off on is I have not changed anything from the initial, and that expedites my review.
Yeah, and that's really what we hope the tool will be. We realize, some students, come to you every semester and have made hundreds of changes and, may not, have the, be able to completely plan it out because, they just struggle to see it. Hopefully this will give them a better visual of that for you to help them advise. And again, hopefully you can get it in one time and you're only monitoring it, just making sure, okay, there are no major changes. They haven't dropped a class completely that they'll need later on. So, definitely we're hoping this will speed up that advising process. We do understand in the very beginning it may take a little bit more time to help some of the students who, maybe not as gifted at, working a new technology system. But we have heard back from students. A lot of them are already super excited about it, say this will save me a whole lot of time as well. And again, it puts the responsibility on the student to be able to have that flexibility that they've wanted, but also still give them that visual of, is this going to work in the long run to meeting the goal of graduation. All right. So once you hit that review completed, it will ask you to archive it. Again, we strongly encourage you to do so. Again, that saves then your records of courses that you may have denied or protected, so that again you can go back and just review, okay, does their timeline still look like that original plan that we archived? And again, if things have changed but it still works, you can just re-archive it and it will save the new changes. If you notice a whole lot of issues, you can then reach out again to the student and say, okay, what happened? We had a plan that worked the first time. I see there's a lot of issues now. Let's work out again. But the student can also go back to that archive if they play around and then get frustrated because they can't figure out how it was before. They can see that archive and that you approved the first time and then fix it so that it matches that. I'm going to go ahead and log into the student side because it looks a little bit different. All the features are similar, but that way you'll also be able to see what the students see. So if they have questions about where do I go, where do I click on to find my program evaluation or my timeline, you'll be able to help them.
Would it be possible, only in terms of just saving some time, is that once we do the initial one and we archive the initial one, if there's some way that we could have that in some form of an overlay rather than me look here and then look there and look here and look there, that would move it along quicker too. Would you just lay it right over top of the next semester they registered for from the original?
I'm not quite. I mean, you are able to print that out. It does save it as a PDF or.
Had it in some form where it was just like an overlay that's identical to it. You could just put it right there and you could actually identify those deficiencies.
Okay. Yeah. If you'd like, what I can show is what it looks like, and that may answer your question. So what it looks like is it's a breakdown then of each semester. So it'll have all their previous courses, and if they have grades in that, it'll indicate the grades on there. It'll also let you know who added it to their plan. So you do have the ability to add a course to a plan. I mean, we encourage you to have the student do it. But then it also lets you know if it was denied by you or if they have multiple advisors. You can see, okay, who denied it. And then you can go back to that and say, back in the fall, I denied this course. Why did you register for it? This may affect you, or you may now have an extra course you didn't need. So it has a breakdown. So again, you could print this off for the student, and they have a guide going forward where they see, oh, this is how it is each semester. And by the end of spring 2020, I'll be able to graduate. So I'll go ahead now and switch over to the student side so you can see that, and then certainly can answer some more questions. So the student likewise would log into Marinet. And they would then select Marinet for Students. And for them, it's under academic planning, my MU plan. And then it pops up to this menu. So to add courses, they would go first to go to my progress. And that's the exact same program evaluation that you see on the advisor side. And again, they can go through, add all the courses that they need to their program. And once they've done that, and one other feature is if they want to see, oh, what would it be like if I switched to, say, IT as a business major, or you have another course or program that's similar, has some carryover, they can view new program. And then it'll tell them, that you're not enrolled in this program, so if they wanted to switch to it, they would need to let us know. But then they can go through and see, okay, my liberal arts, my university requirements look good, everything's still the same. But then as they go down, they can see, oh, if I switch now to IT, these are the courses that I don't currently have planned, and they can kind of compare the two to see, especially if they're further along, to see how many extra hours they would need to take in order to complete that. If they scroll all the way to the bottom, they can then see all of these courses would no longer count for the new major if they were to switch that they've previously planned. So again, that's another feature that especially if they plan out, they can then compare what courses would count in both programs and where are courses that I would still need to take in addition to what I've already taken. So once they've added courses through My Progress, they then go up to My MU Plan and switch to the Plan and Schedule menu. And that'll default to their current schedule that they're registered for. And we'll get back to that in just a moment for when they select courses to add for their upcoming semester. But then here's where they would access their timeline. So again, they would see if you protected any courses. When I click on that, there's no longer a drop down for them to be able to move that to another semester. And it's then on the student, if they don't register for it in the fall or in the spring, that then when they come back to you next semester, you can reach out to them and say, okay, you didn't take this course, how come? And obviously then they'll need to move their courses to another semester once you've unprotected that course.
Are first-year students expected to do this too when they come in?
So they'll be working with their first-year advisors like they currently do.
With CTO?
Mm-hmm. And one other feature that is coming down in the future, is particularly for those first-year advisors, that'll be very helpful, is that to load a sample plan. That's where I was talking about, the ability to plan not an individual course, but like a writing intensive, where they could plan that for the future, and then when that term comes, they would then need to go into My Progress and select the actual course. But that hopefully in the future we'll have that where, again, the first years can load that sample plan in there, and we'll be working with the schools and departments to look at what courses they require each semester, so that when we put that sample plan in, it'll be as close to possible to the 4-year sequence that students want to take.
So is it accurate to say that when one of our advisors contacts us, wants to come in and meet with us, would it be accurate to say that it's their responsibility to actually select these and our responsibility to review?
Correct. Yes. So again, they have the same ability to move courses around, see how it would affect their schedule if they were to move courses, and then once they are satisfied with their schedule, they go to advising and request a review, and that's what then triggers that email to you that they've requested it. So again, hopefully we're encouraging students to plan everything out. If you see students who continuously are just doing one term, maybe put a note in saying, okay, I've spoken to them, said, if they refuse to do it, it's on them, that you've then reached out again. You'll have that archive to say, okay, they've only archived one semester at a time. But again, it takes the pressure off of you and you can puts the responsibility back on the students to make sure they get the classes they need. So, yes.
Are you going to be showing us the petition and waiver?
Not right now. We're hoping to actually take it off for right now because we're not using that. What it would do is if we did put a waiver in the system, it would have it there. But we do hope to,
Still using paper and pencil for that.
for now, unfortunately, we are still using that. So,
No worries.
and the student can also see then when it was last reviewed. So if this were, say, April 13th, they could see, okay, I'm not able to register because my plan hasn't been reviewed for the current period. And then we put that in those guides saying, anytime between October and January, you need to get your plan reviewed in order to register for the spring. And then again from March until August or September, whenever the add drop period is, as long as they get their plan reviewed once during that period and you've hit review complete, that'll enable them to register. But again, with that archive plan, it puts the responsibility on them if they do a lot of add and drops. So if you have students, or have flexibility with what courses, you may want to communicate that to them. But again, they don't have to then come back to you when they want to add another course. They can just change from a Lit 1 to, say, a History 1, as long as, again, it meets all the prerequisites when they actually go to register. So once they've been reviewed, the students will be able to go in and go to Schedule, and then they can click on View Other Sections for those courses that have you've approved. And since this is a test environment, I'm going to go to Spring now. Okay. So what that'll do is then show all the courses that we're currently offering. They can see how many seats are still available, where it is, and they can then also certainly filter by location from the course catalog. If they're looking for courses that only meet in Ballston, they can do that in the course catalog as well, but then they can see where that'll fall on their schedule. And one thing is, once they add it, you'll see it's still in yellow. That's indicated it's currently planned. It is not registered until they hit the Register Now button. So if you do get a student who says, well, I added sections to my schedule, if they don't hit that Register Now, just like the cart, they don't actually have a seat. But again, we put that in the guide. Make sure that it's green. That indicates that it's been registered, and also will say over to the side, registered instead of just planned. So then they can go through, select courses, and see where it would fit on their schedule. If they do select a class that conflicts, it will then show on their schedule, okay, these two classes conflict, and it'll let them know which section it conflicts with, so that they can then click on the section they want to remove. And select another section. And again, it won't let them register if they have conflicting courses. It'll give them an error and won't let them fully register for those courses until all courses have been properly scheduled without conflicts. So yeah. Then one other function that they're able to do is they can then print their schedule directly from My MU Plan, and they can also save it to iCalendar. So that way, again, they know exactly when classes are meeting. So we're excited about that, and so far the reviews have been, students are excited as well, so we're happy. And if you have any questions, please let me know. We'll be happy to clarify anything, especially anything that's maybe not clear in the guides as well. We'll certainly be updating those with some of your feedback to try to make sure that it's more visible and more correct. So, yeah.
Student selects, registers, and I'm taking a school, I'm out of town for a week or so. And time's getting short. That doesn't go through until I come back and review and then release it.
Correct. If they haven't had that reviewed, you haven't reviewed it that first time yet, they won't be able to register. They can certainly, again, they can add the sections, kind of plan out when they want to take
So it's
class.
only mainly the first one.
Correct. It's just the first one. Yeah. So-
But if they haven't planned it out for every semester, then they have to come back to it.
Yeah. Again, if you make that absolute requirement, depending on, what your program looks like, if it's very, set on you must take courses in this sequence, we'd highly encourage them to plan it out. If, they can pretty much take courses whenever because there's not very many prereqs. If you've reached out to the student and they just aren't planning, it's up to you if you review it. But again, the most benefit for the student and for you is going to be that they plan it all out. We're really pushing that, figure out when you're going to graduate because, a lot of students come up and say, well, I don't know when I'm going to graduate, or, I think I'm going to graduate in the spring. And when you go into the system and you see, well, you're not going to meet all these requirements because you can't take 30 hours in a semester, it gives them a visual to see how many semesters it might take for them to graduate.
How long will they be allowed to register
The same
through Marinet?
through the current system, it's no longer up for registration, so they have to go in through my MU plan.
Okay, no
So-
wonder I got that panicky email.
Yeah.
But some already doing that, started doing that.
They've been planning. The registration is still the same system that we've had with, when students are able to register. We do have some peer mentors. They'll be helping us train some of the freshman students later on. So we have given them access starting October 16th to be able to register. So you may start seeing some advising review requests from them next week. And they will be registering. But then starting the 23rd, it'll be graduate students and those who have priority, like athletes, honor students, and then the same system that's currently where, the next week or the next, whenever will then be the juniors, then the sophomores. So that's still the same, but students are able to go in and plan all the way ahead. And then it'll also tell them, like right here, your registration begins on 11/8. So they can plan everything out prior to that, and then at midnight, they can go in and click register now once that period opens up for them. So, alrighty, that concludes presentation. Thank you for coming. If you do have any questions, let me know. And again, if you have a chance to look at the guides and some videos, if there's anything that's not clear, please let me know. We do want those to be as clear as possible. And again, encourage your students if they have questions. How do I register? You can go to that website, and it's just on the Marymount website under Quick Links, Registrar's Office, then My MU Plan information. We have all the guides there. So the comprehensive one is kind of an overall review of all the features there. It is broken down where they can click on a table of contents to get where they want. But particularly for the registration one, both the registration guide and the video strictly how do you add classes from My Progress to my timeline, submit it to my advisor, and then build a schedule. So it's a very short step-by-step process there. And again, the advisor one is on the MU portal, and that'll give you kind of a breakdown as well of just each function that you'll see on your side, and just a quick overview of how to review those plans so that the student can register.
My office is just a few steps away from CTL. Are there certain people in CTL who are really comfortable with this that I go to?
You're certainly welcome to come see me if you have specific questions, or certainly
In the registrar's office.
correct. But yeah, please reach out to us, and we do want to. We do have a few extra sessions later on, and we do have some drop-in sessions. So if you have students who are coming to you with questions, you can refer them to our drop-in sessions. They can come to us, and we can help them out. Again, we're going to put the advising. We're not going to give them advising like you should take this, but it's more of a, I'm stuck on how to get a class into my schedule. we can help them with that, but we will refer them to come see you, for the actual advising of, should I take this class now or not? But if they do have technical questions, we'll be available for that as well. All right, thank you.
Thank you.